This is the second question of logical reasoning drill set number 3. And as always, we've got a highlight tool ready to go, and we read the question stem, which states the reasoning in the philosopher's argument is flawed because the argument does blank. So we're looking for a flaw in the argument. We're going to read the paragraph on the left-hand side and ideally try to come up with our own mental prediction of why the argument might be flawed proactively before engaging with the answer choices. So we read the philosopher's statements. Any action that is fair never injures anyone. An action does not injure anyone only if that action is just. And thus, every action that is fair must also be just. It follows that because some merciful actions are just, some merciful actions are fair. You might be recognizing some conditional statements in this argument. So what we want to do is use the highlight tools in different colors to differentiate as we get to the ultimate conclusion that some merciful actions are fair. So I'm going to select a different color, and we see the first statement is indeed that any action that is fair never injures anyone. This is just a statement of fact that says if an action is fair, then it doesn't injure anyone. Then we're going to switch to our other color. An action does not injure anyone only if that action is just. So I'm going to highlight that in my orange here. And thus, every action that is fair must also be just. So I'm going to just go back to my pink here to differentiate it. And then we learn, lastly, going back to the orange, that some merciful actions are just. So we should be able to see that there's this transition, basically the transitive property of conditional logic, leading to this conclusion that some merciful actions are fair. Ideally, we want to avoid diagramming this conditionally, and we can use the highlights to expedite the process. So we're looking for what might be a flaw. And so it says that an action that is fair, it never injures anyone. And an action does not injure anyone only if that action is just. So we know that if an action doesn't injure anyone, then that action is just. And thus, every action that is fair must also be just. And then we go to that transition of some merciful actions are just, therefore, some merciful actions are fair. And hopefully, we're recognizing an improper reversal. So it's clearly conditional logic. We're going to try to address the answer choices now without the diagramming, based solely on our mental understanding of the different statements, using that highlighting to differentiate them. Thank you for watching this explanation video of an official LSAT practice question from lawhub.lsac.org. If you're enjoying the tips that it contains, please consider liking the video. And you can also subscribe to our channel to be alerted when new video explanations are released by my guru. Also, check out the description below because within it, you'll find links to full sets of video explanations for official LSAT prep tests from lawhub.lsac.org as well. But for now, let's get back to this video. So choice A confuses what is required for fairness with what is sufficient for fairness. Well, this could be the right answer because we know that what is required and what is sufficient is literally reversing a conditional logic statement. So we're going to hold choice A open for that reason at this time. Next, choice B ignores the possibility that there may be an action that is fair and injures no one but is unjust. Well, we're not concerned with the unjust, so we can eliminate choice B for that reason almost immediately. Next, choice C takes for granted that some actions that injure some parties are unfair to those parties. Well, we don't actually talk about parties at all, so we can eliminate choice C for that term shift without engaging the conditionals at all. Then choice D fails to distinguish between actions that are fair to all parties and actions that are just to all parties. Again, we're not concerned with all parties. We're concerned with an individual here. So we can eliminate choice D for that reason as well. And then lastly, we've got choice E, fails to show the relationship between merciful actions and actions that do not injure anyone. Well, again, we're not considering the relationship between merciful actions broadly. There's clearly conditional logic involved. So we can eliminate B through E without really even diving into the conditional logic, knowing that choice A has to be the right answer. And this can be a more efficient way to engage with these technical conditional statement style questions on the logical reasoning section of the LSAT to expedite your process working through sections and trying to get what are ultimately going to be harder questions correct.